Hi, my name is Ann Bedrick. I'm an abstract painter. I create large scale, well, also small scale, but large scale abstract paintings that are very complex and are often compared to music, particularly jazz music. I was raised in the New York suburbs, and I'm the youngest of three and the only girl. And my background was I studied sculpture and then became an educator, first regular educator in elementary school, and then later, after I raised my own kids, I became an art educator for children. And I feel like I absorbed so much of their energy and that now comes out in my own work. So that's really impacted how I see the world and how I create my own art. When I begin a piece, I often say that I'm like a kindergartner. I'm watching what the paint can do and stopping when something beautiful happens. And then my more adult head will come in and evaluate whether it's working with the overall. But I'm always aware in the same way that children are when they're working, of watching what's in front of me. And I've always been fascinated by that. My upbringing impacted definitely parts of my work, especially in 2020 when I started wanting to work really large. I think that really coincided with my awareness of the Me Too movement and women's rights and wanting to stand in my own power as a woman. And so when I was working really large and using my whole body to paint, I really felt like I was representing the person that I hoped that I was. I was standing in my own strength and claiming my space. And one of my installations that I made in 2021, I believe, was called Standing Tall, and it was 16 free-flowing canvas panels, so not stretched, that were ceiling height, and they represented the woman that I wanted to be or that I was becoming. And contrasted with that were 16 small 1-inch pieces that sort of represented how I used to feel as a woman, overlooked, easy to walk by. But if you took the time to notice, there still was a lot of interest and beauty in them. So that was a huge transition in my work. And definitely influenced by being the youngest in a family of three children, where my two older brothers were very absorbed in each other and less so in me. And I felt like I always was, sort of less important at the dinner table. And so that was like really good therapy for me. It helped me kind of grow past that. Since that time, I have, continued to explore other themes in my work as well, but that was a big part of my beginning to work really large. My biggest influences are, at the moment and over the past year, Albert Oehlen has been huge. I felt so lucky. Just a week ago, I was in New York visiting family, and I got to go to an exhibit down in Chelsea where there were like 15 Albert Oehlen pieces, and so exciting to see so many of them in person. I definitely was also influenced by Richard Diebenkorn, by his surface appreciation and, the variation in what he does within his forms. Joan Mitchell, amazing brushwork. And lately by Hans Hofmann, because of what I've been focusing on right now. So I've always, really, as I said, enjoyed like kind of loose and honoring the paint for what it can do. And often, if you look back at my paintings, there have been pieces that would float in front of my work. So they might have been squares in front, or stripes in front, or lines in front. And it was one of the methods that I used to help create space, so that these things were floating in front of like a background space. And lately, I have been playing with making those more hard-edged. And as soon as I started doing that, my work began to remind me of Hans Hofmann's work. Not at all in his color, but in his kind of composition. I'm not sure how long I will stick with this. It's just what I'm working on right now, and it's really exciting to me right now. I feel like it is a portal, kind of like the shapes themselves look like portals, but I feel like it's a portal into a new way of seeing and a new way of creating. And I'm thinking about it as order in chaos, or chaos, order on top of chaos, because the pieces that float are so crisp, and what's behind them is so loose and free and doesn't really have the same kind of order to it. The biggest challenge of being an artist is not letting a lot of sales or very few sales play in the same headspace with what I'm making, and really trying to keep those playgrounds separate. I'm really interested in marketing and Instagram posting and reaching out and meeting people through my emails or my marketing efforts, and seeing how that all impacts my sales. But when I'm in the headspace of being an artist, keeping that separate, that is definitely the biggest challenge. That, and the more I grow as an artist, it seems like I see more, and it is sometimes more difficult rather than easier, because I understand the impact more and more of each mark that I'm making. And so it's not always as easy to stay really loose. Advice I would give to myself, my younger self: believe in yourself and your own instincts. Listen to your own instincts. Because once I started doing that in my work, that impacted me so much as a human. And I just feel like a better person from having done that. And I wish I had done that sooner and younger. Have you ever tried any unconventional mediums or techniques? Well, that is actually a very funny question, because at one point in the 90s, I got commissioned to make, I used to be a sculptor, and I got commissioned to make 2 giant sculptures that would be full window display size of women made out of tampons and sanitary napkins. And one was supposed to represent women of the past, and one was supposed to represent women of the future. And I was commissioned by a company that made little carriers for tampons and sanitary napkins. And so, yes, I have worked in very unconventional materials. Most of my work prior to that had been in clay, and so that was kind of very unusual material to work in. What do I listen to while I'm working? Mostly I listen to audiobooks or podcasts, and my personal opinion about this is it keeps my brain free, because the left brain is so occupied with what I'm listening to that the right brain can be freer to react to what it's seeing and be more playful. What is the best reaction someone has ever had to your artwork? A few I really have had, but one of the best ones was someone getting weak in the knees and having to sit down because they were so overcome by the emotions they were experiencing looking at my work. And that was really impactful to me. I guess a similar reaction is when I was telling the story about standing in my strength as a woman to somebody, and the meaning of the piece, which was, what was it called? Something like No More Apologies or No More Supposed to. And the woman got teary-eyed, and, she was just also so moved by it. So, yeah, when my work moves somebody to have strong emotions, that's to me the best reaction that it can have. What do I hope people take away from my artwork? I really want them to have the kinds of feelings that you have when you're listening to a piece of music and it sweeps you up into it and just moves you, and there's a whole set of emotions evoked that you can't even always articulate. I want that experience for my viewers when they look at my paintings. And also, I love how, because of their complexity, each time people look at my work, they can see something completely new. And I think it has to do with what's going on for them in their world at the time that they see a piece. The piece will meet them where they are and speak to them emotionally where they are on any given day. So my upcoming events and social media handles. Well, social media on Instagram is at Anne Bedrick, ANNE, B like boy, E, D like David, RICK. That's Instagram. And on Facebook, my Facebook page is Anne Bedrick Art. And I'm represented by Prior Fine Art in Atlanta. And I just had an art book I created at the very beginning of pandemic. During the first weeks of lockdown, I was processing my own emotions about the lockdown and the feelings of despair and unease that we all were having. I made a art book about that, and the University of Virginia just acquired that. So that's really exciting. I'm going to be part of their rare book collection. And I am also part of a pop-up currently on Palm Canyon, which is the main drag in Palm Springs where I live. So I'm excited about that because it's right in the main downtown where people tend to walk and browse. And yeah, so those are some of my upcoming things that are happening right now. And I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to share about my process and my work. And let me know if you need anything more from me. Thank you.